6:58 a.m. In Pacific Palisades, California, the day started like any other. Birds sang quietly in the trees. The streets were clean and calm. People jogged with coffee in hand and music in their ears. It was a peaceful morning in a rich neighborhood in Los Angeles. At the end of a long street, big iron gates slowly opened. A black Range Rover drove out. It was quiet and smooth. Inside was Dwayne Johnson, also known as The Rock. But today, he was just a dad and a businessman. He was on his way to open a gym for kids in the city. He had no bodyguards, just himself. 7:05 a.m. He was driving near Sunset Boulevard and Clifftop Drive. He didn't notice a police car behind a gas station. But when he passed it, the lights turned on. No loud siren, just flashing lights. Dwayne looked in the mirror. It was just one police car. He didn't worry. He changed lanes. The police car did too. He turned right. The car followed. He turned again into a quiet parking lot next to a closed diner. He parked, rolled down his window, and waited with his hands on the wheel. A police officer named Officer Reeve walked toward the car. He was around 40 years old with a serious face. He put his hand near his gun. "License and registration," he said loudly. Dwayne asked, "Why did you pull me over, officer?" "You look like someone we're looking for," Reeve said quickly. "Show me your ID now." Dwayne answered calmly, "I can get it from the glove box, but I'm not resisting." "Move and I'll shoot," Reeve shouted. Dwayne stayed still. The words were scary. Then something even worse happened. Reeve took out his gun and pointed it at Dwayne through the window. 7:09 a.m. People nearby started to notice. A woman walking her dog stopped. Two teens on bikes began filming. "That's The Rock. Why is the cop pointing a gun at him? He didn't do anything." More people started recording. But the officer didn't stop. He was focused only on Dwayne. Dwayne stayed calm, but he was thinking a lot. He knew this wasn't just fear. This was wrong. 7:11 a.m. Two more police cars arrived. Officers jumped out with hands on their guns. No one asked questions. They surrounded Dwayne's car. 7:12 a.m. Across the street, a man named Noah Ross saw everything. He was a lawyer and Dwayne's friend. He stepped outside and called the mayor. 7:13 a.m. Dwayne spoke clearly. "I'm getting out slowly." "Stay in the car," the officers shouted. Dwayne looked at Officer Reeve. "I'm not a threat. The world is watching you." Above them, a drone camera appeared. News was spreading. 7:14 a.m. Officer Reeve yelled again, "Get back in the car!" But before he could do anything else, a woman's voice stopped him. "Officer Reeve, stand down now." It was Deputy Chief Anita Ramos. She walked into view with a badge and strong voice. "You're pointing a gun at a man for no reason. Lower your weapon." Reeve lowered his gun, but people were still recording. It was too late. Justice had started. 7:16 a.m. Everything moved slowly. Dwayne stepped out of the car with his hands up. The officers started. They finally realized who he was. 7:18 a.m. Across the street, Noah was live-streaming. "This is not a movie. That's The Rock." He was just sitting in his car. Imagine what happens to people without cameras. People online shared the video fast. Hashtag Justice for Dwayne began trending. 7:25 a.m. At LAPD headquarters, alarms were going off. Officers were told to stand by. Chief Maria Adler saw the video and said one word, "Reeve." She ordered her team to prepare for a big investigation. 7:31 a.m. Back at the parking lot, Deputy Chief Ramos told Dwayne, "Please stay calm." Dwayne answered, "I've been calm. Who's going to calm the country?" More people were watching now. No one was yelling. They were waiting for something to change. 8:03 a.m. News spread everywhere. TV stations were playing the video. Even in other countries, the story was big. One news host asked, "How famous does a black man have to be for a cop to see him as a person?" 9:17 a.m. Reporters found Reeves' past records. He had 18 complaints, 5 reports of using too much force, and had broken the rules about race before. But nothing had happened. Now everyone knows. 10:10 a.m. The mayor spoke. What happened to Dwayne Johnson is wrong. Not because he's famous, but because it could happen to anyone. Officer Reeve is suspended. I'm calling for a full investigation. 10:45 a.m. At home, Dwayne watched the news. He wasn't angry. He was thinking. Then he picked up his phone and said, "Time to speak." 12:04 p.m. Dwayne posted a video from his home. This morning, a gun was pointed at my head. Not in a movie. Not in a stunt. Just while I was driving to work. The officer didn't ask who I was. He didn't check anything. He aimed and threatened to kill me. If I had moved wrong, I'd be dead. This isn't about me. It's about who gets treated like this when no one is watching. He ended the video. People everywhere shared it. Celebrities, athletes, and regular people spoke up. Some politicians wanted change. Others argued. 1:47 p.m. A secret Twitter account posted a message that seemed to come from Reeve. Fame doesn't protect you. Respect authority or be treated like a threat. People traced it back to him. He had gone public. 2:13 p.m. Protesters chanted outside the police station. Arrest Reeve. Who's the threat now? Inside, leaders were worried. They called in help from the government. 3:10 p.m. Dwayne got a scary phone call. A voice said, "You think you're safe behind your cameras. But the system protects its own." Dwayne hung up. He knew now. Reeve didn't feel sorry. He felt protected. 3:29 p.m. Dwayne called a meeting with his team. He didn't want just a viral video. He wanted real change. He wanted to show the truth about what happens behind closed doors. 4:02 p.m. At the police office, a detective named Layla Moss looked into Reeve's files. She found missing video footage, people scared to speak, and a retired officer who used to help Reeve. 4:44 p.m. The protests spread across the city. People held signs. They wanted the truth. 5:05 p.m. Dwayne spoke to Anderson Cooper on live TV. "I'm not asking for people to feel sorry. I'm asking for honesty. If this can happen to me, imagine what happens without cameras." Anderson asked, "Do you think the officer acted alone?" Dwayne said, "No. He acted the way he was trained to act when he thought no one important was watching." 5:37 p.m. Someone shared a secret chat log. It showed that Reeve and other officers talked about pulling over people who looked sketchy and hiding their actions. 6:10 p.m. Chief Adler saw the messages. She said, "This isn't just about Reeve. This is bigger. Get the Justice Department. This is now a federal case." 7:03 p.m. Dwayne's lawyer Noah filed a $100 million lawsuit against the police. Dwayne didn't want the money. He wanted everyone to see the truth in court. 7:31 p.m. Reeve was hiding in a small cabin. He looked at pictures of his police friends. He told himself, "They're making me the bad guy." But when he looked in the mirror, he heard a voice in his head. "You pulled the gun. You almost hurt him. And now, justice is coming for you." 8:05 p.m. At the FBI office, Agent Elise Monroe looked through all the files. She had worked on big corruption cases before. But this one was huge. It wasn't just rumors. It was all on camera. And the truth was coming out for the world to see. A black teenage boy was stopped, searched, and beaten by a police officer named Reeve and 2 other officers who are now retired. Every report about it was like a small wire connected to a big bomb. That bomb was a secret police group called the Shield. It was a group of police officers who were secretly working together. They were unfair, hurt people on purpose, and protected each other with help from powerful bosses. But now, things are changing. Agent Monroe closed the case folder, looked at her partner, and said, "We're going in tonight." 8:41 p.m. Dwayne's house. In his study upstairs, Dwayne sat in front of 3 glowing screens. One showed national news. Another showed tweets. The last one was a Zoom call with 2 lawyers from the Department of Justice. A man named Noah Ross leaned into the camera. "They're giving us 72 hours to prepare a list of people who will talk," Noah said. "But one of our sources inside the police just sent us this." He forwarded a message from someone inside LAPD. "They're trying to delete everything. The Shield files, chats, videos, all of it. Someone inside is hacking the system. You have maybe 4 hours before it's all gone." Dwayne clenched his jaw. He didn't say anything. He just stood up. 9:03 p.m. LAPD Cyber Division. In a cold, dark room under police headquarters, 3 men worked quietly. One typed, one watched the computer system, and one guarded the door. They weren't supposed to be there, but they had all the keys and passwords. On the screen, it showed a file, shieldmaster.zip. A message popped up. "Wipe all. Confirm? Y/N." The man hesitated. Suddenly, the door burst open. "FBI! Hands in the air!" shouted agents with flashlights and guns. No one moved at first. But then, slowly, the men dropped to their knees. It was over. The files were safe. 9:35 p.m. Titan Gym. The gym was closed. Lights were off. But inside, under the glow of an emergency sign, Dwayne sat with Deputy Chief Anita Ramos. She looked tired. He looked serious. "You know this is bigger than Reeve," she said. "I know," he replied. "They'll try to protect themselves. Bosses, union leaders, politicians. If you keep going, you're going after a tree of power that's been growing for years." Dwayne nodded. "Then we bring a chainsaw." 10:12 p.m. LAPD confession room. Detective Layla Moss turned on a recorder. Across from her sat Officer Jeremy Clean, a former SHIELD member. He looked at his hands. "It started as a joke," he said. "We stopped certain cars in certain places. But then Reeve pushed it further. He said, 'Don't worry. If something goes wrong, they'll cover it up.'" "And they did?" Layla asked. "Who covered for him?" Clean looked down. "Lieutenant Harris and Chief Creed." That name hit hard. Chief Creed was now a city councilman. 11 p.m. Dwayne's phone buzzed. He got a message from a secret number. It had only a few words. "They know you won't stop. They're going after your family. Be careful." Dwayne looked at the message. His fingers hovered over the delete button. But instead, he sent it to his team. "Stay alert. We go louder. If they want to fight, they'll get it, in broad daylight." 11:45 p.m. Breaking news alert. The FBI confirmed a raid on the LAPD server room. The SHIELD files, chat logs, and videos were saved. A former officer blamed city officials. The DOJ, Department of Justice, opened a big investigation into the LAPD SHIELD group. The country didn't sleep that night. Neither did Los Angeles. Because the wall of silence, it was coming down. 7 a.m., Washington, D.C., Rayburn House Office Building. The old government building had more security than usual. Reporters and people stood outside. Inside, under high ceilings, the room filled fast. Lawmakers, newspeople, leaders, and victims. In the center was Dwayne Johnson. He wore a black jacket and white shirt. No fancy clothes. He looked focused and real. He wasn't there as a movie star. He was there as a witness. 7:45 a.m. Pre-hearing. Noah leaned close to Dwayne. "Are you ready for what happens next?" Dwayne gave a small nod. "If you play it safe, we win headlines," Noah said. "If you go all the way, we lose friends, but maybe we get real change." Dwayne looked at him, then at the cameras. "We go all the way." 8 a.m. The hearing starts. The chairwoman hit her gavel. "This meeting is to talk about the LAPD SHIELD group, the targeting of Mr. Dwayne Johnson, and problems in big city police departments." Cameras rolled. Lights flashed. She looked at Dwayne. "You may begin." Dwayne stood up. "No script. I was pulled over for doing nothing. A gun was pointed at me. The only reason I'm here is because I'm famous. But the real question is, How many others had this happen when no one was watching? He looked at all the lawmakers. You can't fix what you won't admit. And the system has been lying to itself for years. The room was quiet. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, said the chairwoman. Now let's show them why we're here. 8:18 a.m. The audio recording. Noah stood and held up a flash drive. Madam Chair, with permission, we'd like to play a new recording. The room went dark. Speakers turned on. A click. Then voices. You think they'll press charges? He's black. It won't go to court. Even if it does, we hide the footage, like Harris showed us. Laughter. Worst case, we give him a medal. Gasps filled the room. Who are those voices? The chairwoman asked. Noah replied. One is Officer Reeve. The others are two current LAPD bosses. 9 a.m. A motel near Bakersfield. Reeve watched the hearing on his laptop. He was sweating. His phone buzzed. A voice hissed. You were supposed to stay quiet. Reeve replied, I'm not taking the fall alone. Then the caller hung up. 10:22 a.m. Dwayne finishes testimony. He ended with, the badge isn't the problem. It's who they keep giving it back to. People online went wild. Expose the shield. Dwayne speaks the truth. No one is safe until all are safe. Inside LAPD headquarters, bosses and lawyers held an emergency meeting. Reeve was missing. The servers were gone. And next, court subpoenas were coming. 11:10 a.m. New threat. Noah checked his email. One message. No subject. A picture from a drone. Dwayne's house. His gym. His daughter walked into school. 3 words. Back down now. 11:12 a.m. Parking garage. Washington, D.C. Dwayne stared at the picture. His little girl, Ava, walked into school. He didn't flinch. But Noah beside him went pale. This is personal now, Noah whispered. Dwayne locked the phone. Then we make it personal for them too. 11:45 a.m. U.S. Marshals briefing room. Dwayne was in a safe building. He had Noah and one former Secret Service guard. The marshal in charge said, We've put out an alert for Reeve. He's still in California. Ava is home under guard. But until we know how deep this goes, we need you to go into hiding. Dwayne raised an eyebrow. You need to go underground for now, the marshal said. 10:04 p.m. Safe house outside D.C. The house was hidden in the woods. No internet. No phones. Only a landline and 3 guards outside. But Dwayne couldn't sit still. People across the country were talking about him, chanting his name. And Reeve was still out there. 1:22 p.m. LAPD Internal Affairs. Detective Layla Moss looked at new info. Reeve took out all his pension money, turned off his badge access, and cleared out 2 storage units. He's either running or preparing, she said. Or both, another detective replied. 2:10 p.m. Anonymous tip. A scrambled voice called the DOJ. He's in Tehachapi. Old station safe house. He's not alone. They're armed. They're waiting. Then the line went dead. 2:43 p.m. FBI. DOJ. Marshals meet. They planned a raid fast. They needed to stop Reeve before he ran, or release something huge. If he does something bad, said Agent Monroe, the whole country could explode. 3:10 p.m. A new video goes online. A 40-second video was posted to a secret site. It showed Reeve, bearded, in a hoodie. He looked into the camera. They want me to be the bad guy. But I'm not the only one who pulled the trigger. I didn't aim alone. If I go down, I'm naming names. Starting with Creed. He gave the orders. Then the video ended. 3:41 p.m. Emergency news. Reeve names ex-councilman Creed as the leader of the SHIELD group. FBI confirms a criminal group inside LAPD. DOJ says arrest warrants are coming. 4:05 p.m. Safe house. Dwayne stood up. Noah looked at him. This is it. Dwayne grabbed his jacket. I'm not hiding anymore. They threatened my kid. They want me scared. But I was born in the spotlight. Now I'm putting them all in it. 4:32 p.m. Tehachapi, California. The wind blew hard across the desert. Dust swirled around an old police cabin. Inside, Reeve paced. He had a beard and a gun on his hip. Two other men in old police clothes sat at a table full of laptops and snacks. "This ends one of two ways," Reeve said. His partner replied, "You give up and talk, or we all go to jail." "No," Reeve snapped. "They want a headline? I'm giving them a revolution." He started a countdown timer on the laptop. 5 p.m. FBI mobile command truck. Agent Monroe stood over a digital map of the cabin. Scanners showed 3 people inside. "Snipers ready. Drones in place," someone said. Monroe's voice was clear. "We go in clean. No shooting unless they shoot first. We need Reeve alive. Whatever he's doing, we stop it before he hits send." Then her earpiece buzzed. Timer detected. He's live streaming a dead man switch. If Reeve dies, the files will be sent out automatically. Dwayne Johnson stood at the edge of a stage inside a small, quiet studio. It was very calm. A group of people with cameras and lights were getting ready. No one was in the room except the film crew. This wasn't a show where people laugh or ask questions. This was something very serious. A live message that everyone in the country would watch on TV at 7 p.m. Dwayne was going to tell the whole country about something very scary that happened to him. He was going to talk about the day someone pointed a gun at him, about the people who should have stopped it but didn't, and what he learned after that. His friend Noah whispered in his ear through a tiny earpiece. "They found Reeve. They are going to catch him now." Dwayne's face got serious. "Good," he said. "Let's see how much truth we get before the sun goes down." 5:32 p.m. Tehachapi bunker. Special police teams called the FBI were rushing into a small cabin in Waves. One team came from the north side. Another team came from a tunnel underneath. They threw bright flashbangs that made loud bangs and bright lights to surprise the people inside. "FBI, get on the ground. Hands up. Don't move," they shouted. Reeve, the bad guy, tried to grab his laptop. There was a red light blinking, showing only 60 seconds left on a dead man's timer. That timer meant if Reeve didn't stop something, the whole country would see secrets he wanted to hide. An FBI agent tackled Reeve to the ground and yelled, "Shut it down! Shut it down or everyone will see what's on that laptop." But Reeve screamed back, "Then let them see it." The agents pulled the power plug and cut the internet so nothing could get out. The screen went black, and the timer stopped at 0. 6 p.m. National Broadcast Countdown. Back in Los Angeles, TV stations were making their last checks. Major news channels like ABC, CNN, MSNBC, and Fox cleared their schedules. They weren't doing it because of politics. They were doing it because this was Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and because what happened to him was important for everyone. A man who made people laugh in movies was now asking the whole country to listen. 6:59 p.m. The cameras started rolling. The screen was dark, then slowly lit up. There was Dwayne, sitting quietly and looking straight into the camera. He had no notes and no teleprompter to read from. He began, "My name is Dwayne Johnson. You know me from movies, but what happened to me was not a movie. It was real." He told them about the gun, the badge, and the system that still believed keeping quiet was safer than telling the truth. He leaned forward. "I'm alive today because people know me. But this story isn't just about me. It belongs to thousands of people who don't have a voice." 7:11 p.m. At this time, 53 million people were watching the story on their phones, TVs, and tablets. Dwayne showed them video from the morning it happened, dash cam footage, live streams, and police reports that were now public. He talked about Reeve, about SHIELD, a secret group protecting bad cops, about threats to his daughter, and about Creed, a powerful man who helped hide everything. "This isn't just about a few bad cops," Dwayne said. "It's about the whole system. And it's time to burn down the rotten parts." 7:30 p.m. Final words. Dwayne stood up and said, "You wanted to know how justice happens. Sometimes, it's not loud or fast. Sometimes it comes quietly, waits, then tells the truth in a place built on lies. He looked strong. I'm not afraid because the people who should be afraid aren't hiding anymore. Then he walked off the stage. The screen went black. 8:22 p.m., Federal Jail in San Bernardino County. Logan Reeves sat alone in a small, cold room with concrete walls. There were no windows and only one camera in the corner. His hands were cuffed to the table. He wore a jumpsuit with just a number on it. Across from him were Agent Elise Monroe and Prosecutor Zachary Holt from the Department of Justice. They had big folders with papers inside. Zachary opened one folder and said, "We have your chat messages, the bunker timer, and statements from 3 of your old partners." Reeve didn't say anything. "You don't get to make deals," Monroe said. "You get to tell the truth." 8:45 p.m. Dwayne at home. Back at his home in Los Angeles, Dwayne was on his balcony holding his phone. His broadcast had already been seen by 74 million people in less than 2 hours. People in over 100 countries were watching the video again and again. Hashtags like #JusticeStruck and #BurnTheRottenTree was trending everywhere. His daughter Ava sat quietly next to him, holding her tablet. "Did I do okay?" Dwayne asked her. She looked up and smiled faintly. "You didn't scream or punch anyone. You told the truth." Dwayne kissed her head. "That's my girl." 9:12 p.m., Creed's house. Outside the big mansion of Martin Creed, a former police chief turned city councilman, hundreds of protesters stood with signs. They shouted in anger and frustration. Creed watched from a window upstairs, sweating and worried. His lawyer told him to leave that night because things were getting bad. Creed said, "They won't touch me. I'm a city councilman." Then his lawyer got a phone call. He looked shocked and said, "They already did." 9:30 p.m. Breaking news. The news announced that Creed was arrested on charges for helping the SHIELD group. Reeves' confession named Creed as the leader who protected the group inside the police. 10:15 p.m. Private meeting. Dwayne sat in a quiet room with federal officials and senators. They said, "We want you to join the National Police Reform Committee." Another added, "You'll have influence over media policies and hold town halls." Dwayne leaned back and said, "I don't need a title to speak the truth." The senator replied, "But with your voice and badge, change can happen faster." Noah looked at him carefully. The third official warned, "You'll need to be careful about what you say." Dwayne raised his eyebrows. "So you want me to sit at the table but whisper?" "No." He stood up and said, "If I have to be careful, someone else will get hurt. I didn't survive a gun to my head to ask permission to speak." He paused, then added, "If you want real reform, give me full access to all police complaint files from every major city. No filters. No names covered up. Let me read what people have said for 20 years. Then we'll talk about change." He walked out. 11:03 p.m. Public opinion. Polls showed public trust in the Los Angeles police dropped from 64% to 19% in just 2 days. Support for Dwayne's work was 83% across the country. 92% of people wanted a federal investigation into police departments in all major cities. #GiveDwayne the Files was trending everywhere. 7:32 a.m. National Justice Database. The next morning, Dwayne entered a super-secure room in Washington, D.C. with his lawyer Noah and Agent Monroe. The room was cold. No phones or USBs were allowed. There were 4 computers and a big server holding sealed civilian complaint files. Elise said, "This is every civilian complaint, with no names hidden, no papers missing. Most have never been seen before." Dwayne sat down, took a deep breath, and started typing. 7:48 a.m. First search. SHIELD Network. Hundreds of results came up from many cities. What shocked Dwayne wasn't just the abuse but how the same words were used in every place to hide the truth. Officer counseled. Body cam not reviewed due to technical error. No further action. SHIELD wasn't just a team. It was a culture, a sickness inside the police. Now, Dwayne had the blueprints of this corruption. 8:12 a.m. Second search. Excessive force on youth. More than 3,000 results showed kids who were treated badly. A 14-year-old tackled for talking back. A 12-year-old handcuffed just for looking like a suspect. A 16-year-old left bleeding because he flinched. All cases were closed with no punishment. 9:10 a.m., third search. Tyson Marcus. Dwayne froze. The name showed in a flagged file from 2017. Marcus Tyson, 17 years old, was beaten by an off-duty officer who accused him of stealing his own bike. The officer pulled a gun but didn't shoot. The officer was Lieutenant Logan Reeve. The case was unsubstantiated because the civilian was uncooperative. Dwayne whispered, "No." He remembered Marcus. Marcus was Mike Tyson's nephew. Marcus was quiet and disciplined. He called Dwayne after the assault, not for help but just to talk. Dwayne told him to stay calm and trust the system. But the system silenced Marcus's truth. 9:10 a.m. Dwayne turned to Kira. "I want this case reopened." Elise nodded. "I'll alert the Miami task force." Dwayne didn't stop there. "I want all the juvenile files where Reeve worked, and every officer who helped cover for him. I want them in court." Elise frowned. "That will be a war." Dwayne said, "Good. I'm wide awake." 10:04 a.m., Creed's holding cell. Creed sat with his lawyer, shaking. "You were named in a dozen internal memos," the lawyer said. "You paid for off-the-record police squads and protected Reeve after Miami." Creed snarled, "Now Dwayne Johnson's the hero. Do you think the system will let him tear it all down?" The lawyer looked at him seriously. "The system isn't protecting you anymore." 11:23 a.m. Press conference. Outside the Department of Justice, Dwayne stood before many microphones. He held up a paper. "This is the file of a 17-year-old boy who was assaulted by Logan Reeve 5 years ago. No charges. No justice. Just silence." He paused and said, "That boy was Marcus Tyson, nephew to Mike Tyson. Marcus trusted the system. The system buried him. We dug it up. Now we bring it to light." Cameras flashed everywhere. 12:15 p.m., Mike Tyson's reaction. The famous boxer Mike Tyson stood outside his gym in Las Vegas. He spoke only once. "They went after my nephew. Now we're going after all of them. The gloves are off." 2:02 p.m., Miami-Dade Courthouse. The courthouse steps were packed with people. Protesters, victims, activists, and quiet watchers stood side by side. Police stood back with riot gear, but things stayed calm. Inside, a U.S. Marshal stepped out and said, "The Department of Justice has reopened the 2017 assault case of Marcus Tyson. The officer Logan Reeve was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, intimidation, obstruction, abuse of authority under federal civil rights law." The press rushed forward, but that wasn't all. The trial date was set for 30 days from now. The courtroom would be on TV for everyone to see. 2:35 p.m., Dwayne at gym. Dwayne watched the news on a monitor in his gym's office. Ava sat next to him, drawing a lion. He looked at the drawing and smiled. "You drew me with a mane?" he asked. She smiled and said, "Because you're louder than all of them." 3 p.m., Creed's lawyer's offer. Creed's lawyer made a desperate deal. They wanted to give the Department of Justice the entire SHIELD network secret files, 10,000 pages of emails, money records, and instructions to cover things up, from 2014 to 2022. In exchange, Creed wanted a lighter sentence, house arrest, and no future charges. The DOJ said, "Testify under oath, in public, and then we'll talk." 3:45 p.m. Secret meeting. A man named Officer Victor Mendez sat quietly with Agent Monroe. Until now, he hadn't said a word. But now he was ready to tell the truth. "Creed told us to target Reeve and do the dirty work," Mendez said. "Can I speak on record?" Monroe leaned in. "Are you ready to testify?" Mendez nodded. "I want people to hear the truth, even if it hurts me." 5 p.m., live on CNN. News broke that a former LAPD officer agreed to testify against the SHIELD network. He named many commanders and confirmed secret hit lists inside the police. 6:17 p.m., Mike Tyson's statement. Mike Tyson posted a message. "My nephew's pain was buried by a corrupt system. But now we're digging graves for every lie they told to protect themselves. Justice isn't coming. Justice is here. 7 p.m. Miami Courthouse preparations. The Miami Courthouse was being changed quickly. They installed bulletproof glass and 12 high-definition cameras. There were rooms for people in 20 cities to watch the trial. One chair was saved at the front with a gold plate for a special witness, Dwayne Johnson. 8:04 p.m. Noah brings new intel. Dwayne was finishing dinner when Noah came in with an email. "You need to read this," Noah said. Dwayne opened it. The subject said, "Missing file found. LAPD body cam footage from March 7, 2017. Inside was the real unedited video of Reeve assaulting Marcus Tyson. Noah swallowed hard. "It shows everything." Dwayne stood up quietly. 8:20 p.m. Private screening room. Dwayne sat alone and pressed play. On the screen, Marcus was pushing his bike when Reeve's car pulled up. Reeve said, "Hey, you look like someone who stole a bike yesterday." Marcus said, "It's mine, sir. You can check." Reeve pulled his gun, raised his voice, and slammed Marcus against a wall. Marcus did nothing wrong. At the end, Reeve said, "Next time, pick a better neighborhood, boy." Dwayne closed his eyes, took a deep breath and whispered, "Now we end this." 8 a.m. Miami Courthouse Trial Day 1. The next morning, the courthouse was packed. Protesters held signs. Marcus Tyson sat quietly in the front row, flanked by his family and lawyers. Dwayne sat in the witness chair. The judge called the court to order. The trial was about to begin. If you like this story, tell me in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more fun adventures and mysteries. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.